Hello everyone, welcome to another Friday Closeout. We are going to be jumping back into the Sermon on the Mount today, and in this particular section, Jesus talks about oaths. Now you might be wondering, what in the world does this have to do with my everyday life? Well, let's read the passage and then we'll talk about it. This is Matthew 5, starting in verse 33. Again, you have heard that it was said to those of old, you shall not swear falsely, but shall perform to the Lord that what you have sworn. But I say to you, do not take an oath at all, either by heaven, for it is the throne of God, or by the earth, for it is his footstool, or by Jerusalem, for it is the city of the great King. And do not take an oath by your head, for you cannot make one hair white or black. Let what you say be simply yes or no. Anything more than this comes from evil. Now, what a strange passage, right? You think about the stuff that we have just talked about over the last few weeks. We've talked about anger, we've talked about lust, we've talked about marriage and divorce, and you read those things and you're like, yes, every single day, these are things that are on my mind, that I see people struggling with, that I may have experienced myself. And then you come to this passage about oaths, and you look at it, and you read it like I did, kind of like I did this morning as I was thinking about recording this video, and I was going, feels so different than the other passages that came before. But let's pause and think for a second at what Jesus is getting at, especially in the last verse of this passage. Let what you say be simply yes or no. Anything more than this comes from evil. Now, one of the themes that we've seen in the Sermon on the Mount so far is that Jesus is really concerned about the condition of a person's heart, like how you are internally. How do you think? Versus just how do you act, right? And so in this passage, Jesus makes these examples of folks who will swear these oaths on these elaborate things. He says, you swear an oath by heaven, you swear an oath by the earth, you swear an oath by the holy city of Jerusalem, and these elaborate things that you swear upon to add heft and to prop up your oath and supposedly to make it more valid or have more staying power. And Jesus says, you don't need to do that. You don't need to swear by all of these things out there. That's not what gives that oath, that promise. That's not what gives your word its potency and its power. It's the condition of your heart and you're carrying through on the words that you say, on the promises that you make. One of the things that I used to love growing up, we had, for a long time, we didn't have cable, we didn't have satellite, we just had, the channels that we could get over the air. And so it was always a treat for me to get to go to my grandparents' house and sit down and watch Westerns. Because my grandparents had a satellite and they had a specific package that had the Western channel. And so we'd sit down and we'd watch Westerns, my grandpa and I. It was great. But one of the things that you see in these Westerns, especially in the older ones, often you have, the black hats and the white hats, right? The good guys and the bad guys. And the white hat good guy, this is always a person of their word, a man of their word, this cowboy. And when the cowboy says something, they're going to follow through on it because their word means something. If you lose your word, if your character is compromised like that, then somehow it makes you a lesser person. You need to be a person of your word, a person who can be trusted and counted on, that doesn't require a lot of extra stuff out here to add heft and weight to what you're saying and what you're doing. That's what I thought of when I read this. If we are followers of Jesus, we need to be people of our word without having to have all those extra trappings. I shouldn't need to have some external thing dictating the heft of my oath, the heft of my promise. It should be driven by my character. It should be driven by my love for Christ and my desire to not want to shame him. And so then when Jesus says, just let what you say simply be yes or no, then we should be people who are known for our word. When we tell someone we're going to do something, we do it. When we tell someone we're not going to do something, we don't. And if for some reason we can't, do what we said, then we own that. We don't make excuses, because we're to be people who just keep our word because we're followers of Jesus. And being a follower of Jesus means we love the truth, and it means we should be people of truth. There's a quote by John Wayne that I've always loved, and it's always resonated with me, maybe because I'm an introvert. It says, talk low, talk slow, and don't say too much. Maybe you can have that John Wayne voice in your head when you hear that. Talk low, talk slow, and don't say too much. It makes me think of this verse. Let your yes be yes. Let your no be no. Be a man or a woman who is known as a person who keeps their word. It sounds so simple, but it's part of what being a follower of Jesus is about. Being a person of your word. And that's something that's good advice every single day of our lives. It's good advice when you're wearing this uniform. It's good advice when you're at home. It's good advice if you're in the business world. Just being a person of your word. Now that is a practical lesson that you can take right from here and apply right now. Thank you for watching. I hope you have a great weekend. I probably won't have any videos next week because I've got some other stuff going on. We'll see, but probably no videos next week. So we'll pick this back up again in a couple weeks with another Friday closeout video on the Sermon on the Mount. Have a great weekend. Go in peace.